It's Thursday, July 5th. I'm Scott,
I'm Rim.
and this is Geeknights. Tonight, fire. Let's do this.
Man, this week is just swinging with anecdotes. I ran afoul of a low-class person on my way home from work today that ended mostly in hilarity and possibly also in police action.
Okay.
So I'm riding my bike. I get off the train, I get on my bike, and I'm riding my bike back home. It takes like 10 minutes to ride maybe 15 minutes if I'm not in a hurry. And while I'm riding in the street like you do on a bike because it's actually illegal to ride bikes on the sidewalk here.
Yeah, it's illegal to ride bikes on the sidewalk almost everywhere.
Yeah, unless you're a little kid.
Yeah.
So I'm riding, and this guy comes up behind me, and he guns his engine. All right. I have my hand out already because I'm signaling. I'm about to turn left, and I turn left. And for some reason, he suddenly, slams on his brakes and almost, spins out. Right behind me,
Uh-huh.
And he almost hits me. So I say, hey, watch where you're going. And I keep riding. And then I hear some sort of garbled scream from behind me as I'm riding. I hear the engine, he bumps into the curb as he's trying to do a K-turn on this narrow 2-lane road. He eventually turns around and proceeds to start chasing me in his car.
All right.
So, at this point, I get up on the sidewalk on my bike and I keep going. And he rolled out in his window and he keeps driving. And the stream of profanity that's coming out of his mouth, basically he's yelling, fucking bicycle faggot, fucking in my way, fucking stop that bike, I'll kick your fucking ass, son of a fuck, just yelling.
Now, I got a question, all right? If it was legal to have a concealed weapon in this state, and you had all the necessary paperwork, would it have been legal to, shoot his tire or something?
No, you can't just take a revenge.
No? Damn.
Unless if I could make a case that he was coming at me with the car, then shooting the tire is the best non-lethal way of preventing him from killing me.
Well, were there any witnesses?
Not yet.
So you could have said he was coming at you with the car.
No, it gets better.
Okay.
So he starts yelling, and I'm up on the curb, and I stop for a second, and he stops, and he opens the door of his car to come and beat me up. So I just started biking again, and this 30-whatever-year-old guy, the guy was in his mid-30s at least, obviously can't catch me. So he gets back in his car and starts chasing me. And the whole time, I realize now, all right, this guy's going to follow me. I wonder if he realizes that bikes can go places cars can't go. I wonder if he's thought his clever plan all the way through.
Obviously not.
Never mind the fact that I've already got his license plate number. I took a picture of it with my cell cam. I took a picture of him with my cell cam and his car. So I'm sitting there, and I just start riding, and he's following me the whole time, yelling and screaming out the window. And he keeps making, he gets ahead of me, and then he stops to try to get out of his car and come fight with me. And I just avoid him and keep biking. And he's getting very, very perturbed. So finally, I just stop, and I hold my cell phone up, and I say, dude, I'm about to call 911.
Yep. What'd he say?
Now here, this is the test. See, this test for me was the test of, is this person stupid independent of all of his other problems? And he says, that don't fucking matter. I know all the police in Beacon. They won't lay a hand on me. Come over here. I'll kick your faggot ass.
Call the police in Beacon.
No, I wasn't going to call 911 yet. I was just going to file a deposition later. I'm already dealing with the police aspect of this because I already had his license plate number. So I said, I don't think that's going to help you. And I want to see how he reacts because there's nothing he can do to me. He can't get me. He obviously doesn't have a gun or anything because he's at the point where he already would have used it. And, I kind of want to see where this goes. Because
I would have let him attack you and then kicked his ass because self-defense.
I wasn't
And then the police would have come and taken him away.
I wasn't really in the mood to get into a fight with someone. Plus, remember, no witnesses at this point.
Oh, you got to go somewhere where there's witnesses and then let him attack you.
So, I just keep riding, and he's following me, obviously intent
Go to the ice cream shop or something.
following me home. Now, I cut around the other street. This was on Verplank.
Uh-huh.
So I just kind of keep going. And I go onto our street, and I go past our house because I don't want to lead him to my house. I'll get to why in a minute. And finally, there's a gas station. There's a bunch of people filling up their gas. So I just stop my bike there. And he pulls up, yelling and cursing, and gets out, completely oblivious to all these people staring at him. And he's yelling and screaming at me. And every time he comes forward, I just kind of back my bike up a little bit because there's no way he could catch me. There's no way he could even close the distance. And he keeps yelling, you gonna disrespect me on my face? You gonna come get me? And he's yelling and yelling and yelling, and I'm just sitting there. And at this point, one more time, I say, dude, and this time I lied. I will admit I lied at this point. I said, and I quote, dude, I already called the police. I've got your license plate number. There's a bunch of people that are watching you. What do you think you're gonna get away with? And he says, I'll kick your ass. They can't lay a hand on me. I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to go to jail, but I'll kick your ass. To which I say, if you kick my ass, you'll go to jail, right?
Yeah, it's called assault. And as long as Rim says...
battery. He's already committed assault.
Well, I know, but like when the police come, they ask Rim, do you want to press charges? And if you say yes, he goes to jail.
So he's still freaking out. He's not backing down. The threat of the police isn't scaring him at all. I'll get to why this is all relevant in the end, because there is a lesson to be learned from all this.
Don't be stupid.
So at this point, because I don't care anymore, I just start laughing openly and loudly. And he gets so, the fury in his eyes is palpable. You can feel it. And he keeps taking a step forward, like he's going to come get me. But I'm on a bike, and he can't come get me. And eventually, I just keep laughing at him, and I just keep laughing and laughing and laughing. And eventually, he gets back in his car and yells, if you weren't such a pussy fucking faggot, maybe you would have stood up to me like a man.
Uh-huh.
To which I said, I said something about, basically, I implied that maybe I am homosexual, and maybe I find you attractive. And then he drove away. I took one more picture of his car.
Yep.
And then I stood there, and there's all these people standing around at the gas station looking like, what the hell? And one of them's like, did you actually call the police? And I'm like, nah. And I just rode my bike home.
Okay. I would have called the police.
No, I already filed a police report.
All right.
And they told me...
You rode your bike to the police station and...
No, I just called him. I'm going to give him a full deposition.
You called the non-911 police number? What is the non-911 police number? I don't know what it is.
I looked it up again. I got it in my cell phone. I had it in my old cell phone. Remember when we saw that guy cutting up...
We really need one of those, 711s in New York, so, that we can call when we don't need 911, but we need some police.
Well, I just put the local police for, Beacon and Fishkill in my cell phone, and everyone else...
I would have rode all the way to the Fishkill police station. And just, stood there and be like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, the Fishkill one's nice. There's a lot of cops there.
Apparently, the Fishkill police station is the envy of all the other police stations.
I wonder why. Fishkill is a relatively small town. It's not a city like Beacon. It's just a town. And it is my impression. Now, my impression. This is not a fact because I have not researched it. However...
I researched it. I read a newspaper article about it.
Well, I get the impression. It is my opinion that possibly the reason Fishkill has one of the best police buildings and the finest police forces with the best cars and the most money, pretty much in the Tri-County area here, might have something to do with the fact that Fishkill's a big town on one side of the street called Route 9. And then there's a little bit of Fishkill on the other side of Route 9. And I think that the city of Fishkill, well, the town of Fishkill, writes more tickets on that tiny stretch of Route 9 over which they have control than could possibly be reasonable. It's my guess. I think that's where they get their money.
But the Fishkill Police Department is probably the largest municipal building in this area outside of the actual city of Poughkeepsie. It's bigger than any town hall of any of these towns.
It's bigger than Beacon's Police Department City Hall combined.
Yep. It's got a gym and all sorts of stuff in there. It's crazy.
They have so many police cars.
It's kind of crazy. All right.
Yeah. So, lesson number 1, and I think I mentioned this back when I explained how to, not that I recommend it, run away from the police. And the answer was pretty much, be on a bicycle. This applies even more so to non-police. If you're on a bicycle, there is almost no way that any human being who is not also on a bicycle can cause harm to you if you're smart. Because bikes can go where cars can't go, bikes can turn quicker, bikes can go faster than anyone can run, for longer.
A bicycle is the most efficient means of transportation, period, in
short bursts to get away from an attacker.
Well, I know, but in general, it also is the most a geared bicycle is the most efficient means of transportation in terms of energy per going. And so it's really tough for anyone to beat you. Unless their bike is better than yours and they're Lance Armstrong.
No, because I've learned something else, too. Generally, if someone is accosting you, odds are they're not in the best shape, and they're definitely not a biker.
That's also probably true. There could be some asshole biker.
Yeah, but an asshole biker is usually the kind of guy who kicks the door of an SUV when they cut him off or something.
Yeah.
Those aren't the people who will chase another biker down and try to kick his pussy faggot ass.
Uh-huh.
Moral number 2, and this is the reason why while I'm filing a police report, I am not going to press charges. And I learned this because I lived in Detroit for a long time, and I lived in New Baltimore, which is a nice town, but there was also a lot of, shall we say, trashy people. And then I lived in a really nice area, and I've moved around a lot, but whenever you are involved in any sort of altercation with someone who is, now this is an and, they have to be both very poor and very stupid.
Mm-hmm.
One of these factors alone is not enough, but if both of these are true, unless you have a good reason to, you don't want to get involved no matter what. Because if someone is poor and stupid, let's take the example of this gentleman. He's obviously poor. It was a pretty crappy car. He was wearing this battered white shirt with sweat stains on it. He didn't look like the most well-off guy.
Mm-hmm.
And his diction, manner of speech, the vocabulary he used, I have a pretty good picture of the social class in which he lies.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have much to lose. There's not much you can do to him.
Besides, if you're not going to get jail, then what are you going to get? You're not going to get money from suing him. You're not going to get damages or anything. It's pretty much jail for him or no jail for him.
More importantly, he is stupid. Notice how, despite the fact that I could have called the police and that there were multiple witnesses watching this exchange, he still continued to escalate the situation. Obviously either not caring or unaware of the possible consequences of attacking a person in broad daylight with a video camera, a cell cam, and several witnesses, if the police are on their way.
Yeah, I'm sure the gas station also had some security camera.
That's what I made a point of being right where the camera was pointed.
Well, you can never tell those little black domes. They could be looking at the gas.
It's not a black dome, it's just a camera.
Oh, it
I saw where it was pointing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, now people like this, because I have many anecdotes from my childhood where someone would, call the police on a poor and stupid person in town. And the poor and stupid person, having nothing to lose and not being afraid of the ramifications, would often retaliate. They'll do things like figure out where someone live and then key their car up one night in the middle of the night, or egg their house, or let the air out of their tires, or smash their windows, or stalk them, or things like that. Get their friends to attack them in an alley one night.
Mm-hmm.
Poor people who are also stupid are not afraid of the consequences of their actions, partly because they seem to be ignorant of the consequences of their actions.
Or they have nothing to lose.
So your best bet when dealing with the situation like I've described, where you're in no danger, is not to press charges, but to simply file a police report. That way it's on file, and if you ever run afoul of them again, and they cause trouble, you've already got it on record that they've accosted you before, and now the book will get thrown at them twice as hard.
Still, it kind of makes you realize, as much as we look down upon police brutality, I'm not about to change that opinion. That is one, poor, stupid people who have nothing to lose. One thing they have to lose is getting the shit beat out of them. That's sometimes, putting them in jail, they don't care.
No, they probably care. The problem is they don't expect that they'll actually go to jail. The guy kept going on and on while he was yelling about how he knows all the police in this town, and they won't lay a hand on him.
So you should have gone to Fishkill.
Yeah.
Been like, we're in Fishkill now.
Well, actually, no, because when he said that, I was like, dude, I called 911. The state troopers are coming, not the local police. And he stopped for a second, and he just ignored that and said, doesn't matter, I know them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure, dude.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So when running afoul of people who are both poor...
Plus, I'm sure if, even if I was like a fireman and I was friends with all the cops, I'm sure they wouldn't, put me in jail if I beat someone up.
I also note that, and I will admit, I got quite a bit of enjoyment out of this, and I probably could have just gotten away quicker, but I kind of wanted to see what he would do, so I just kept laughing at him, and he just kept getting more angry.
Yeah.
And I wish I could have had a video of it. Maybe I should go ask the gas station guy if he'll give it to me.
See, this is actually a lot more fun if it happens in, New York City or something, right? Because,
the police will already be there kicking his ass.
Well,
in
not
New
only that, but, if you're walking down the street and, someone starts something, let's say someone tries to mug you or take your wallet or something, right? And there's actually other people around who are not accomplices of them. About half those people are going to help you out, and there's going to be basically a huge beatdown of 5-on-1.
It's like when you were there and that purse snatcher tried to grab that
Yeah,
lady's
I was
purse.
walking to work. I think did we talk about this on the show?
We did.
Years ago?
We can tell it briefly.
A long time ago, more than 2 years ago, when I worked in the different part of the city at the old job, I was walking to work one day from Grand Central to the work, and I passed walking by the I think the south side of Bryant Park, and on the other side of the street, I hear a scream, and I see some guy trying to grab a giant purse from this lady.
I don't get those giant purses.
I don't get it either.
What are you carrying?
I don't know. But he grabs it and he starts to run, and he gets about 2 parking spaces away. And I'm like, huh. And then I'm going to go run across the street. And meanwhile, 3 other guys on the other side of the street already grabbed him and beat him up.
Basically, a crowd of, like, all the people who got there after he was beat up were like, is it under control? You got him? You got him? Like, everyone in New York City will just jump on something like that.
Yeah. And then one policeman shows up and puts handcuffs on him and make sure the guy doesn't get up, like stands on him or something, I guess. I don't know. And then everyone stands around while he writes a report, and then I go to work because I don't care anymore.
Yeah, so that was my day.
Yep.
So, in the news.
So you know Godwin. Mike Godwin?
As in Godwin's Law?
Exactly.
What Godwin's Law, which most people don't understand or misquote, but I'm not going to get into that.
I'm going to get into it.
You are?
Yes. So let me tell you the story about Steve Godwin Mike Godwin in summary.
Who's Steve Godwin?
Yes, Mike Godwin. First of all, he's a lawyer, right? He's sort of a counsel. I don't know. A counsel is a different kind of lawyer, whatever.
I'm sure all of our lawyer listeners will know.
He was the lawyer for Steve Jackson in the Steve Jackson versus United States Secret Service case.
Oh.
And Steve Jackson won.
I just like to note that if any of you are unfamiliar with that court case,
You should look it up.
anytime you think that our government, the United States government, is
Capable of an intelligent conspiracy.
yeah, if anytime you think that the government is evil and conspiring to do evil things and like the secret government, the shadow, whatever, that story will remind you very quickly that it is probably not the case.
Yep. He then became a lawyer for the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is awesome. They're the people who have a bunch of lawyers who are fighting to, get rid of all these stupid laws like the DMCA and the illegal wiretapping.
They were largely behind the Blue Ribbon Campaign, which is a part of internet history now, but basically, back when the internet started really taking off in the mid-90s, the idea of freedom of speech on the internet was sharply contested in the United States. And there was a large campaign to make sure that we had freedom of speech there.
Yep, the EFF's major contribution has been that they won the case that lets us all use very powerful encryption. He also wrote a bunch of books, and the character Mike Godwin in the Difference Engine is named after Godwin.
Yep, that was the Zimmerman case, right? The encryption thing?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember offhand.
Yep. And then, all right, so then he came up with Godwin's Law, which is, and I state, as an online discussion grows longer, the probability of a comparison involving Nazis or Hitler approaches 1. That is Godwin's Law,
Now,
and he came up with it.
Note, it does not say anyone loses an argument. It just says that Hitler's gonna come up.
Yep, that's all it says. So this guy who is involved with Steve Jackson Games, the EFF, and he made up Godwin's Law because he's fucking Michael Godwin, did all these amazing things, and he's like an uber geek person. He's a person that's a very important geek. You should know about him, and he's still alive and still awesome. Well, he just changed jobs. You know what he is now?
What is he now?
He's general counsel for the Wikipedia.
Hot damn.
So if the Wikipedia gets in trouble, Mike Godwin is going to be the one to help him out.
The Wikipedia is also known among possibly the rest of the world as Wikipedia.
Yes, that's right. It's an inside joke in my work.
I know.
Yeah. But yes, he is the general counsel for the Wikimedia Foundation. Talk about a guy who's like been in every sector of geekdom as someone awesome.
He's a minor hero of mine.
Yeah. So, Mike Godwin, you should know about him. He's awesome.
Right. So, the 4th of July, Independence Day in the United States went by. It's part of the reason we had a special yesterday. Also, to all of you who are relatively new, I would like to teach you about some of the code words we use on Geeknights. You see, whenever we call a show a special episode, that is code word for, and I quote, Rim and Scott are too lazy to do an actual show, so they're just going to record something and put it up and call it special.
That's exactly right.
But anyway, apparently, the state of Minnesota, there is a law that they want to pass. I don't know if it's passed yet or what. I read this article very skimmishly. basically they want to make it illegal to sell flags, American flags, within the state that were not produced in the United States. Punishable by up to $1,000 fine and 90 days in jail. No. Before anything, I would like to point out that that is in violation of a great many international trade treaties.
Well, I was going to say it's in violation of the Constitution of the United States of America, because if it's a flag from another country, then it's interstate commerce, and thus the federal government has purvey over that. And
I guess they
not
could make
a state.
I guess they could make the argument, I guess, that because they don't want them to be sold within the state, so they're not interacting with the feds because it can come in the borders, it just can't be sold.
I guess I could order one from another state. Then what are they going to do about it? I'll order 1,000 of them from Oriental Trading Company.
See, now, I just want to point out that Minnesota loses a little bit of the respect.
Yeah, Minnesota never had much of the respect anyway. I mean, what the hell does that state have?
Now, I've seen that there are a lot of other states that have similar laws. However, on further investigation, it looks like most of those laws don't say you can't sell non-domestically produced flags in the state. They say the state cannot buy non-domestically produced, which is very different.
No, that's it. You can have a law like that.
Yeah, I'm fine
because that's
with
a law
that.
that says this is how the state will spend its taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Which is there's nothing wrong with that kind of law.
There's nothing wrong with that, but I just can't believe that in this day and age, this sort of jingoist, restrictive trade bullshit still happens. I mean, globalization works only if it's actually global and it's actually free.
Yeah, people always complain. You see all those people protesting the World Trade Organization and stuff, and they're kind of right and they're kind of wrong. The problem here is that the World Trade Organization wants, quote, free trade, right? Free trade on paper means that anyone in the entire world, right, can trade absolutely freely with anyone else in the entire world. I can engage in commerce with a Chinese guy and not have to pay any government's extra money. It'll just be money goes from me to the Chinese guy and goods come from him to me or vice versa, and no one gets in the way, except, of course, we have to pay for someone to ship it, but that's it. That's what free trade means, is anyone can do business with anyone perfectly openly with no interference, of course, as long as you're not doing illegal business like, I don't know, buying guns or bombs or anything like that. The problem is that the World Trade Organization actually fights so that big companies and federal governments can trade freely, but individual people cannot. And thus, it won't work if you do that.
Well, the thing is, it's a little more complicated than
It is.
that.
I'm trying to keep it simple here.
I
It's
can
not
sum
what
it
our
up-
episode
I
is
can sum it
about.
up much more simply. The majority of the people protesting the WTO or the World Bank or all those things have no idea what those organizations even do, and they're just dirty hippies who for some reason have jumped on the rabble bandwagon.
Thanks for saying what I was thinking. So
I've
people
talked
wouldn't-
to these people. I've read what they wrote on the internet. Unless they're anarcho-primitivists.
You mean like the Unabomber?
Yeah. No, because he was actually... While he was a crazy nut, at least he
He's
went
not
all
an
the way.
anarcho-primitivist?
He went all the way with his anarcho-primitivism.
Okay.
I think it was Emily who knew someone who met a guy who claimed to be an anarcho-primitivist. So basically what that meant was he didn't have any furniture in his dorm room except for his laptop, where he blocked. Yeah,
He would go on forums and talk about anarcho-primitivism.
something like that. But I've tried to talk to these people before, and they don't even know what these acronyms stand for. These people are idiots.
Yeah, but anyway, free trade is good as long as everyone gets free trade. And it's funny how we have a federal government fighting for free trade while some of the states are doing the exact opposite.
Well, it's just BS jingoism, and hopefully there's a possibility that this bill was just put forth by some guy who wants to rabble-rouse the jingoism.
Yeah, I
and
mean, state legislatures aren't full of, all awesome people, You don't have to be some great legislator to get on to the state
you can
Congress.
simplify that regular expression and just define something legislators.
Yeah. Yeah, I could.
Things of the day. Scott, I got to say, Billie Jean, she's not my lover. She's just the girl who said that I'm the one, but the kid's not my son.
Uh-huh.
So, apparently, well, not apparently, I found a video of it, so I want to share this with all of you. Michael Jackson first performed his classic trademark moonwalk in 1983 on a television special called Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever. And here's a video of it. And all I got to say, 1, the moonwalk's awesome. 2, I'm glad that I can see the first time it happened. And 3, Michael Jackson was so cool back then.
And now he's the exact opposite. How the fuck does that happen?
I mean, when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of Michael Jackson. And I got to say, now that it's kind of like with MC Hammer. Now that I'm older and it's in the past and I go back and watch this dancing and this singing, I'm so much more impressed by it. And
yeah, I guess when I was a kid, I just didn't appreciate awesome dancing. Even though I still liked MC Hammer and Michael Jackson as a kid, I didn't really appreciate their talents or former talents. And now I go back and look at it again, and unlike He-Man, which now looks like crap...
Don't watch He-Man.
I look back at Michael Jackson, MC Hammer, and other, things I enjoyed as a kid, and some of them are more awesome now than they used to be. Of course, some of the people are less awesome now than they used to be.
Yeah, but seriously, Michael Jackson was awesome.
Was.
Yeah.
Was.
If only he hadn't gone crazy.
How does this happen? I mean, like, look at us. We're kind of cool. We're not famous, but we're internet famous.
Yeah, I definitely think we crossed the line of internet famous.
Right. How could we possibly become like that? Like, how could we take a downturn like that? I just don't see a possible path I could go down where that would end up like that.
Well, part of it might be that we weren't child stars. We weren't internet famous before we could handle being internet famous.
I guess that is a significant factor.
Yeah. Also the fact that there was a lot of pressure on kid Michael Jackson. And he was, pretty much the biggest pop star in the world.
I mean, like, what about Kid Tiger Woods? He's all right. He doesn't have a problem now.
I guess, it also depends on the person, the family, all those sorts of things.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But I do agree. I can't see us going crazy and mad with power.
Yep.
I mean, next year when Geeknights has 100,000 listeners, I don't see my life changing a lot.
Nation doesn't even 100,000 listeners.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Anyway. So, this moonwalk that Michael Jackson did he invent it?
Well, you see, there's a lot of information about this, and if you really want to go read the Wikipedia, now, because I actually didn't know that part of it was based on some of the things that Marcel Marceau used to do back in the 50s. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who that is, get off my podcast.
Yep.
But as far as I can see, and this is also on YouTube, the first moonwalk that was videotaped, was performed by, well, I'll just let Scott take it from here because it's his thing of the day.
It's my thing of the day. So in 1955, there was a tap dancing guy, and he was an awesome tap dancing guy. And I like some old style dancing. I've done old style dancing things of the day before. And this is a guy named Bill Bailey.
Dude, Scott will randomly watch the Charleston while we're waiting to do the show.
One of my favorite things to do is people doing the Charleston is just so awesome.
Why don't we?
So I just look on YouTube to find people doing the Charleston all the time.
Why don't we do the Charleston?
It's hard.
Let's learn it.
We have to learn other dances first before
like
we
the
have the skills to
Haruhi
do the
dance?
Charleston. No, not like the Haruhi Suzume dance.
So which one should we learn first, that or the Charleston?
We have to learn like basic dance moves that that are like fundamental parts that we can add together into the Charleston.
Why don't we just Napoleon Dynamite it? Let's just get every music video Michael Jackson ever did and learn the pop and lock straight up.
Because then we're only going to be able to do that one dance.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's the best dance ever.
If we learn the parts of dances, then we can recombine them later to construct new dances. Sort of like learning to fish rather than being given a fish.
Kind of like when you're playing DDR. I mean, you might be able to do the up, left, down, left combo and the up, right, down, left combo. But if you can combine the two without screwing it up.
Yep. So anyway, this tap dancing Bill Bailey, regardless of anything else, you should watch this because awesome old tap dancing can't be beat. But at the end of this video, he moonwalks. Oh my God, 1955, there's a dude moonwalking after he's done tap dancing.
I don't doubt that Michael Jackson saw that video.
I also do not doubt that he saw that video. Ooh, lightning.
Huh, maybe we should cut the show short.
No, it's all right.
Well, the power did go out earlier. Luckily, we have
UPSs.
We have 4 UPSs.
If the power goes out, you just go save and then exit and turn the computer off.
Yep, actually, we could still upload the show even if the power was out.
Oh, yeah, we could send it over to my computer.
Well, our network equipment is all on the UPS in addition to all our computers.
Yeah, if you sent it over to my laptop really quickly, my laptop on its battery power could connect to the wireless router, and then we could upload the show.
Yep. Now, listening to that song, I'm sure you could guess as what we're talking about tonight, even though it could be any number of things. Perhaps we're talking about that style of music. perhaps we're talking about that song. But no, we're talking about the subject of that song. Tonight, we are beginning a long-running series on perhaps Scott's favorite thing in the world.
It's not my favorite thing in the world.
It's probably your second most said word.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's my favorite thing. Just because I say something a lot doesn't mean it's my favorite.
Wait a minute. So you saying, Scott, that the topic of our show is not your favorite thing?
No, it's not my favorite thing.
Is it in the top 3?
Probably.
Okay. Okay. Tonight, we're going to talk about fire. We entitled this episode, Fire, Part 1. Oh, I figured you'd take it away from there, Scott, Captain Fire.
Oh. So anyway, fire is pretty goddamn awesome. I mean...
This is going to be a great show, I can tell.
If you start a fire, you get light, you get heat, you get danger, you get a weapon, you get a tool. It's kind of hard to beat fire. Even cavemen knew that much. The thing is, actually, that most animals, at least on Earth, seem to be afraid of fire, which you'd think is good because fire hurts if you touch it. You know, if you, light a fire, most animals are going to run away from the fire. If you have a campfire near your camp, it's a good way to keep away bears and raccoons and things from eating you in your sleep. Humans aren't so afraid of fire. I mean, some of them are, but some humans are pyromaniacs. They love fire. They set themselves on fire even.
Now, I do note that there's no pyromaniac chickens.
No, there aren't. So,
well, maybe there are,
yes.
And they're just really unfulfilled.
Now, I don't know if there's any evidences or studies or things for this or anthropologies or whatever, but I'm pretty confident that the pyromaniac nature of some human beings was a significant contributing factor to the advancement of human civilization. The fact that there were at least some humans who were not afraid of fire and were curious about fire and thus investigated it and learned to take advantage of it is why we are here today with computers and clothing and cars and everything else. Fire is just that important.
I think there's actually a little bit more to it than that.
You think there's more to it?
I would actually go forward to say that it's not fire in general, it's just danger. I mean, think of anytime there's a natural disaster, something horrible, crazy happens, something weird happens, something dangerous happens. While many people flee, I note that whenever something like that happens, pretty much universally, animals avoid it. Whenever there is something strange, animals avoid it. But humans tend to be drawn to it.
For better or for worse.
Yes. In fact, I would point out that I would say it's more often for worse than for better.
Yes.
But for every 1,000 humans who died in a fire...
Well, I think what it is in the short term, right, it is worse because people are going into crazy, dangerous situations.
Oh, for the individual, it is worse.
For the long term and for the entire species of human beings, I think it has been better. It might not be better now, but...
For every 1,000 humans who died in a fire, one of them cooked some meat or made some metal.
Yep. Made metal. You don't make metal, you smith it.
Well, no. Some fire could have ended up causing some metal to melt out of a rock or something.
Or invented eternal combustion.
Or something like that. Maybe external combustion.
Yeah.
Or spontaneous human combustion, which is fake. Just got to get that out there.
I thought it happened at least once.
Never.
Nope.
It's never been documented. Every single time someone has claimed spontaneous human combustion, the odds were that the person was a smoker living alone and died in their bed. Huh.
I thought I heard a story that, someone was sitting in a chair and then they were dust on the chair and nothing else was burnt.
Oh, yeah, that can happen. There's a clear physical process for that happening.
Oh, so what is it?
It has to do with the fact that there's fat in the body and you basically burn like a wick, and a super hot fire will form right there. But due to the nature of that kind of fire, it won't burn anything else.
Ah, that's pretty interesting. So I guess let's see. That's the phenomenon I had heard about, and that's why I assumed spontaneous human combustion was real.
Oh yeah, no.
I guess it's just that phenomena. And
that phenomenon can happen, but it's not spontaneous. Most of those people either dropped a match on themselves, or were smoking in bed, or had an oxygen tank, or there was an electrical fire and they were too old to wake up.
All right. Yeah, but there can be spontaneous non-human combustion.
Oh yeah,
like if you have a stack of old dry magazines that's really tall in a bad place.
Yep, or latex gloves with baking soda on them.
Yeah, that could do it too. So watch out for that. Or do it on purpose in a safe place.
Or you know what? If you're in an old house, it's not a good idea to go over to an old light switch and just flick it on and off a bunch of times as fast as you can. That's not the best idea.
No, I guess not. So,
Or if your fuse is gone, the fuse fell out or the fuse is busted, you don't have a new fuse. Even though I've only lived in one house that had fuses in my life, so I own one fuse that in my bag of electrical stuff, but fuses aren't used in houses anymore. If you have a house that has a fuse and the fuse burns out and you don't have a replacement fuse, don't put a quarter in the fuse box or a penny or a wire or a bullet.
A bullet?
Remember that apocryphal tale of the bullet replacing the fuse in the car?
Yeah, it's not good.
Lewis Black tells the story like it's true. It's not.
Yeah. A lot of people tell stories like they're true that they're not.
Oh, yeah. We should do a show on that.
Yeah. All right, anyway, why don't we tell some humorous fire anecdotes and then get the show over with?
I often, as a kid, liked to set things on fire, but I was not a pyromaniac.
Well, I also like to set things on fire, and I like to play with fire, but I knew it was dangerous, and I was slightly more afraid of getting hurt than I was willing to play with the fire, and also my parents were pretty strict about not letting me play with fire, so it was a rare opportunity I got to do dangerous, fiery things.
See, I was completely the opposite. I wasn't afraid at all. I had a Fresnel lens. I melted asphalt with it. I set leaves on fire. I set fireworks on fire with the Fresnel lens.
Ooh.
In fact, I am very lucky that I have all of my fingers because I was drawn to fireworks much like moth to the flame.
Whoa. Yeah. Fireworks are illegal in Connecticut, and, some people around bought them and used them, but my parents did not. So I was stuck, looking out my window at night at the people across the street with their fireworks.
Dude, I was the kid having Roman candle fights with his friends.
Yeah,
we would shoot bottle rockets at each other. We'd tie army men to bottle rockets that had other bottle rockets tied to them. One time, we took one of those popper, the little snapper throwers, and we emptied out
I had the snappers all the time.
We emptied out the contents of like 4 bags of them into one gigantic thing.
It's hard to do that because they'll snap when you try to open them up. There's like a little rock in there. And
yeah, we were real careful, and it took a long time.
It's really hard. That's why they're filled with sawdust, is to keep them from snapping.
A bunch of them went off, and a few of us got hurt, but we did it. And let me tell you, it worked. That's all I'm going to say.
It sure does work. We've combined many of them into one before.
Our favorite thing to do, where there's this one kind of firework that nominally, it would shoot up into the air with wings and fire really, really high and coast for a while with different colors and then explode. So we'd tie like 3 of them together and then we'd have a fuse that would eventually light all 3 and we'd set that off. And basically what would happen was it'd go up into the air and then about halfway up, it would suddenly change direction and the odds were that it would come straight for you. Pretty much without fail, it would come straight for you.
Yeah, even nowadays, where I'm allowed to play with fire, and I can play with fire pretty much whenever I want, and I don't really care about playing with fire, and I have things to play with fire, I'm still kind of I'm actually more afraid of getting hurt with fire than I ever was.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I'll note that I can't blame you because fireworks are dangerous, but you had the method of hold the match. As soon as you think the fuse went, you were already across the street.
Yeah, I mean, because, all I think about is I imagine myself, like, standing right in front of a bottle rocket that's lit and just standing there, not moving.
I've done that.
And then it firing into me.
I've been hit by bottle rockets.
Yeah, and I imagine what's going to happen. And I imagine, like, that little tiny stick, like, going right through my body and then exploding and, like, blowing my head off. And I don't want that to happen.
See, the answer is maybe it's just because I've been hit by fireworks a lot, but when you shoot a firework like that, like a bottle rocket, unless it hits you in the eye, the odds of serious injury are pretty low.
I'm just kind of afraid of injury.
Yeah.
But I'm not afraid of fire. Like, if there's just a fire sitting there, I'm like, ooh, and I'll play with it.
Yeah, you'll always throw stuff into it.
Yep.
But like those little UFOs we were shooting off, it's impossible for those to hurt you, even if they just went straight for your face.
Maybe.
You're pretty much fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted, much of my non-fear of fireworks has to do with being incredibly lucky and not having been hit by them in a dangerous way.
Yeah. What other ways that I have fun with fire besides
the thing is, my primary
fireworks?
fear, and the reason we didn't shoot so many fireworks off, wasn't
police.
Yeah. I wasn't afraid of getting burned. I was afraid of the police busting me.
I wonder what the penalty is for fireworks in New York.
I don't know. As a kid, I wasn't afraid of the police with fireworks because I'm a kid. I'm invincible as far as I can see.
What is it, a fine, a jail? I don't know.
It's probably a fine and they take away all your fireworks.
Oh, I wonder how much the fine is, because I'd be willing to pay the fine if it wasn't so much.
Yeah, but the thing is, then they take away all your fireworks, and I'm sure...
That's why you got to set them all off and then pay the fine.
I'm sure the fine is greater if you get caught again.
Well, no, you set them all off before they catch you.
Yeah, the problem is they come pretty quick.
Or you set them all off at once with one giant fuse.
I got a story about that, but I'll save it for another time. That'll be a special.
All right. So
Do we have anything else, or is this going to turn into that one episode of Twit?
No, I could talk about all, like, I've done a lot. I remember at summer camp, we, not just fire, but we also, like, threw sodium in the lake. That was a lot of fun. But I remember the one thing we did at summer camp is the summer camp was this very sciencey summer camp full of nerds. We had a chemistry lab, and basically the chemistry lab meant turn on the Bunsen burner and throw stuff into it and see what happens.
Nah.
And I remember we would throw all the different things in there to get all the different colors. Like, if you threw iron filings into it, you would get these sparks. And if you threw, like, this other powder into it, it would turn green. And that's how I learned how fireworks worked. If you, like, take green stuff and iron filings and you put them near a fire with some gunpowder or whatever, you would make a firework that had sparks and green. And it was really fun.
I love stuff like that. I always wanted to make fireworks as a kid. But my fireman dad dissuaded me. He explained how dangerous it is to make fireworks.
Real dangerous. Another thing we did at summer camp is we would go into, you make a campfire every week, and, you hold some hot dogs on a stick over it, and then you eat them, right? If you took the plastic bag that had the hot dog buns, that previously contained hot dog buns.
Oh, you don't throw that in the fire.
You don't throw it in the fire. That's dangerous. Releases poison gas. If you hold it above the fire, enough above the fire that it won't burn like, poison gas, but enough above the fire that it will be heated up and warmed so that it will melt, when the drips of plastic fall into the fire one at a time, they go, ding, ding.
Well, I think you win the fire contest here, because while I know about fireworks, I never thought of that.
I didn't think of it either. The counselor knew how to do it.
Yeah, I didn't play much with fire itself, other than, actually, one of my favorite pastimes as a kid. And part of this came out of the fact that my dad was a fireman in Detroit. We lived there in the 80s. If you don't know much about the city of Detroit, I suggest you read about something called Devil's Night. But
Devil's Night is sort of universal now.
No. Now, Detroit Devil's Night is not like it is anywhere else.
All right.
It's better now, but back in the day, the city fucking burned to the ground every year.
Uh-huh.
It was bad. We're talking firebombs and houses.
Oh, it does say Michigan cultural phenomenon.
Yes. I know my shit when it comes to Michigan. Don't you be treading.
Decline of Devil's Night arson.
Michigan's the only state, as far as I know, that has declared war both on a foreign nation and on another state. But I digress. My dad was a fireman, so when he was off duty, he still had the radio and everything, and we had the police scanner and the fire scanner with the real chip so we could actually listen to everything. And whenever there was a fire nearby, or we'd always go for walks, like the Sunday walk. We'd just walk around the neighborhood, talk to all the people. It was good fun as a kid. My dad could smell a fire from like 40 miles away. And he could tell you if it was a car fire or a house fire or a factory fire or whatever. And if it was close enough, he could find it. So more often than you'd expect, my family would show up at the scene of a fire and just kind of hang back and watch the house burn down and watch the firefighters try to save it.
But wasn't your dad a fireman? Wasn't he supposed to save the people or whatever?
Not when he's not on duty. There were other firemen who were perfectly capable of doing that.
Really? So, like, if you're a fireman and you walk past a fire, you don't do anything because other firemen will take care of it?
Well, he didn't have any equipment on him. If there was an emergency, I'm sure he would have. But remember, in an old house fire, when, like, there's an old house that's on fire, it's already too late to save the house. They're not trying to save the house. They go in and save the people. Once the people are out, their primary duty is to save the neighboring houses, not to save your house.
That sucks.
Also, Detroit firefighters are one of the few fire departments left in America that, if they're trying to save a building or put out a fire, they practice internal firefighting, meaning even if there's no one to save, they will march into the building with hoses and put the fire out from the inside.
Is that more effective?
Yes, it's also much more dangerous.
Well, I know that.
Most fire departments, from what I've read, will fight the fire from the outside and do damage control more so than stopping the fire at its core.
Couldn't you spray into the window or something?
Oh, you can.
All right.
I'm not going to talk about that in detail. Maybe if you guys are interested, I could do a special just when Scott's out of town about that. But firefighting is pretty cool. And it's kind of related, so I'll end the show. I got an anecdote. My dad wanted to be a policeman when he was young. Mm-hmm. And his father and his father's father were firemen. And his dad, when he learned that my dad wanted to be a fireman, asked
policeman.
A policeman, yes. Asked two very poignant questions. He said, first, do you know any happy firemen? Yeah, you and Bob and all the people we know. And yeah, they're all pretty happy. Do you know any happy cops? And I know that we lived in Detroit at the time, and my dad became a fireman.
Yep.
You got any fire anecdotes before we end this?
We saw that car fire as we drove.
Oh yeah, that was kind of crazy.
we were, I forget where we were driving from or to. Was it was it from Otakon to the shore? I don't even remember.
I think we were driving to Albany.
I don't remember at all. But basically, we were driving and we saw like a huge plume of black smoke and we're like, "Whoa, big fire." We go around this corner on the highway and there's a van, and basically the van is super on fire. Like, fire is coming out all the windows of this minivan, coming out of the front of the car. It's just super on fire. It looks like someone poured gas in the car and then threw a match in there and ran away.
Now, luckily, we saw, obviously, the entire family standing back from it.
Did we see? I didn't see them.
I saw people standing back from the car.
Yeah, I didn't see people in the car or outside of the car, so I wasn't sure.
They were standing way back.
All right.
They definitely had the look on their faces of, what the fuck?
Yes, but just for the thing that really makes this story is the fact that, was it slightly before we saw the fire or slightly after we saw the fire?
I think it was just after we saw the fire.
A cop pulled over someone for, like, speeding on our side of the road while the giant fire was on the other side of the road.
And there was no EMS or police at that fire yet.
No, it was just a car on fire on the side of the road.
And we know they knew because I called 911, and when I said car fire, and they can tell where I am from the GPS, whatever, and they said, on the throughway, I'm like, yeah. He's like, mile marker X, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, we know about it. Thanks. Click.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good times.
Fires are awesome.
I imagine we'll do more fire episodes in the future when we have nothing better to talk about. If you have ideas for Thursday shows, tell us.
Or else you're going to hear about fire some more.
Granted, I think I could talk more about fire. I'm starting to remember a bunch of situations I've been in my life that involve fire.
Yep. Well, this weekend we were going to go to Anime Next, and now we're not because...
We'll talk about that on Wednesday.
Yep. And the weekend after this weekend, we're going to Kineticon.
We'll talk about that next week. Suffice to say, we're doing, I think, 9 live shows at least.
Yeah. And the weekend after that is Otakon.
Where we're doing, hopefully, 4 live shows.
Oh, mans.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.